Morning, everyone. Morning to you, Nipwa, as well. Nipwa, not only later are we going to kick your butt with our beautiful buffet of food, we possibly just kicked your butt in worship as well. Is there such a thing as kicking someone's butt in worship? We'll talk about that some other day. Today, we're going to talk about how you can't be scared and happy at the same time. And how for a lot of your life you can know you're scared of something, but that's not actually the fear you need to deal with. And if you spend your life trying to get rid of the big fear, it's the wrong one, and you can waste your life tackling the wrong thing in your life. The fears that keep you from being happy are harder to find. And Jesus, in his brilliance today, is going to help us find those fears we can't find on ourselves. And then he's going to help us stick a fork in them. And we're going to leave here not scared and way happier and way more poised to do good and to love the people around us. Jesus is brilliant. When it seems like he's just giving you a one-off little saying, and you're like, oh, that's just kind of common wisdom, the way that he does it, and the people that he does it to, it always has this incredible depth. If you think about it long enough, it just takes you right down to the core of yourself. So at first glance, this one verse really that we're going to look at today looks to be just like Jesus with a coffee mug saying. But if you live in it long enough, like we will this morning, you're going to see that this phrase actually puts its finger on your deepest fears. Here's the coffee mug saying, and it's familiar to most of you. It's called the Golden Rule, and it's right smack in the middle of the Sermon on the Mount. It's just super helpful for it to be there because we've been going through the Sermon on the Mount since September, I think, and we're probably at the place where a summary would be helpful. And Jesus' listeners would be at the place where a summary would be helpful, so Jesus gives them a summary. Here it is. He says, "So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this is my summary." His sermon is summing up all the laws, all the prophets, and then this phrase sums up everything that he's saying. Do to other people what you would have them do to you. Jesus isn't the only person who is doing that. Saying this. Is it better to use this? All right. Jesus isn't the only rabbi who has this saying, do to others what you would have them do to you. There's this story that goes, there's these two opposing rabbis, they represent different schools of thought, Shammai and Hillel, and one disciple of one guy is wanting the other one to impress him, and so he comes and he says, if you can summarize everything I'm supposed to do while I stand here on one foot, then I'll switch teams. I'll be your disciple instead of this one. And the idea being you can't stand like this terribly long, right? Eventually you're going to get tired or fall over or something. So how are you going to summarize it this fast? And then what rabbi says, don't do to somebody what you don't want them to do to you. So it's the reverse of this rule, the golden rule. Simple wisdom. But as we'll see, this takes you to the root of your greatest fear. But before we get there, I want us to just live in this, get familiar with it before we take it a little bit deeper. To do that, we'll use our simple upside-down rhythm here at PAC. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, what we do is every week we have a different syllable of the word upside down, and then at the end of that we party, which was today. The up syllable week, we focus on our relationship with God, the side with each other, and then down in helping people that need help, down in humble acts of service. So what I'll do is I'll apply this rule, do to others what you want them to do to you, to each of those syllables. So in the up syllable, I want us to reflect about what we would want somebody to do for us spiritually, let's say. Do to others what you want them to do to you. In this syllable, for me, what I would want somebody to do is I would want them to tell me about Jesus. If I didn't know Jesus, I would really want somebody to tell me about Jesus. Not just the Jesus of trivia, but the Jesus who can get inside you and strengthen you and deliver you. That's the Jesus I would like to know. That's the Jesus I would be dying to know. Because there's some people who say things like, I don't know where I'd be if I didn't know Jesus. I know exactly where I'd be. And it's not pretty. I think there's some people that can do life without Jesus a whole lot better than I can do life without Jesus. I would place bets that if I didn't know Jesus, I wouldn't have remained faithful to Tamara. I would have sat beside somebody on an airplane, been a little bit flirty, been far away, found out what hotel room we were in, she was in, whatever it was, and that's just kind of how it would have gone. But Jesus kept me from doing that. The Jesus inside me giving me strength to do the right things. I'm absolutely certain my boy would have bruises. Not emotional bruises. Soren would have physical bruises if I didn't know Jesus. Because I used to have a temper. And it would lash out in those ways. And I don't think Acacia would have had that. I don't think I would have hit my daughter, but I would have hit my son. Jesus kept me from doing that. And there's lots of people out there that are scared that they're going to lose it, that they're going to make a mistake. And if they knew Jesus, if somebody told them about Jesus and they had Jesus, they wouldn't be living in that desperation. If I didn't know Jesus, I would be coping somehow. And based on what I know about myself, I'm pretty sure it would be alcohol and pornography. And they would be spiraling me down, 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 down. But I know Jesus. And he saved me from those things. And Jesus doesn't just save you with those big things. He saves you from those everyday little things that makes you a miserable person. So I have a really humble anecdote of how Jesus saved me recently. But because it's the everyday stuff where we live, I just want to share it with you because Christianity touches those small things of your life that are actually pretty big when you string them together and they make a whole life. So I got a disappointment a week and a half ago. I'd been waiting to hear back from a literary agent and a publisher about a manuscript that I had submitted, and the way it all came together, I was really excited because it just seemed like God was lining up the dominoes. And when the message came on Thursday, it was rejection. No, we don't want to represent you and float this out. So that's okay. I mean, I know that lots of authors, that's what happens. But for me, it brought up a whole bunch of other rejection. Suddenly I was like 15, trying to ask a girl out and practicing in front of the mirror like, hello there. You may wonder who this sexy voice is on the other end of the phone. It's me, Nathan Weselake. I'll pause and let you recover. No, I mean, it was always, hi! I mean, is she there? I don't even remember her name. Just like squeaking out the pronoun. Is she there? So it took me back there and other places. So living in that a little bit. And then a car wouldn't start. So that's kind of a bummer. That cost some money to fix. And then Sunday afternoon after church, sewer backs up. Mild sewer backup, so you only have to pull up a few of the floorboards. I guess not floorboards, the laminate. And so thankfully that good guy comes, he rotos it all out, and we're good. He's got a little handful of roots, off he goes. So we're just living like we have indoor plumbing now, right? We're flushing stuff, and we're just enjoying a sewer system that works, but it doesn't work, as it turns out. It floods again, and this time we don't notice. So the basement, about half flooded, pulling up these boards, and the family's going to be helpful. The kids are going to pull the boards up, but they don't know that the click laminate has to be taken up a certain way, or else it gets wrecked. So they're just yanking boards and throwing them over their shoulders, and it's just one of those days. But one of those days where the Jesus in you actually makes a difference. Because nobody got swore at, nobody got hit, nobody walked on eggshells. There was definitely some, guys, take it easy on Dad tonight, he's hanging by a thread sort of conversations. But my family can handle that better than angry dad slamming doors, stomping around kind of things. This is why, if I didn't know Jesus, I would want somebody to introduce him to me. Let's go to side. To do to other people what I don't want them to do to me means I'm not going to talk behind their back. I don't want people to talk behind my back. When I first became the lead pastor here, I wasn't prepared for this sort of scrutiny I felt. I don't know that it was actually there, but I felt it. And we were in the middle of a big building campaign that they had opinions about. Why are everything from why is it this color to why does it cost so much to why this contractor to why. And then I heard it as, why are you making us? And then every Sunday it was like, guess what, everybody? We need more money. Next week, we need more money. When you tell people you need more money, they're generally frowning at you. So inside, I'm starting to get really paranoid. This is like probably 8 years ago now. And I actually took the very drastic and humbling step of inviting 5 or 6 people to my home and in my basement saying to these men, I'm going crazy. I can't walk through the lobby of the church without being so paranoid about people talking. Because I'll go up to a group of people over here and they'll stop talking. They're probably, maybe they're telling a bad joke they don't want the pastor to hear or something, right? But I assume they're talking about me and they're just slicing and dicing me. Now that was a while ago. It's not that bad internally anymore, but I still don't like people talking about me, bad things behind my back, and neither do you, right? So on the side thing, we don't do that for each other. We do for others what we want them to do for us. And some of you have had that experience in your house church over and over, where somebody from the outside, it's happened to us twice, 2 different house churches, 2 different people. Somebody who's new to church will come to house church, and within about 3 weeks, they will be talking about how different this is because in this group of people in the living room here, nobody who's not present is getting crucified. Now, nobody present is getting crucified either, but nobody who's not there is getting knifed in the back. And they'll actually say, this is so refreshing. Every other group of people we're in, we just complain about our city officials. We just complain about the pastor. Now I'm there, so they don't do that right on the front end. That's a few months in. It's remarkable, and it's a sign of the kingdom come when people treat each other like that. And it's so incredibly rare. In my life, I've tried to build this in with a weekly meeting with 2 guys, and one of the questions we ask is, have you damaged somebody by your words or actions behind their back? Most weeks the answer is yes, but it's getting better. And at least it's on the radar. The down syllable, I would like somebody to help me when I need help. I love when people take pity on me and my lack of mechanical skills, and they're like, oh, bring it over to the garage, we'll fix that. I'm like, yes. And I like filling out forms for people that don't like filling out forms. I like writing cover letters for people, right? That's kind of I can contribute too. Upside down, we just want to do things for each other that we would like people to do for us. That's simple, we get that. And we all have heard these stories, and now internally we're like, yes, the world would be so much a better place if we all did that. The next question is, why don't we do it then? Why is our question so rarely, the bracelet on our arm, what would I want others to do for me? Whatever those initials are, instead of what would Jesus do? Because a lot of times we don't know what Jesus would do, but I sure know what I'd like somebody to do for me if I was in that situation. It's really easy and really clear and really hard. We agree on it, but we don't do it much, and now we get to the fear. The fear is this. Your fear is that the world is too scary a place to be nice. That's the fear at the root of it. Your fear is that the world is too scary a place to be a nice person. Because there's no guarantees that if you do something nice, that you're ever going to get that back. You're just going to be vulnerable. You'll be at a deficiency. You have to look out for number one in this world, because this world is not a safe place for anybody. And so you have to look out for number one. And when you're looking out for number one, the golden rule is impossible to keep. You might be nice every now and then to people, but you cannot do for others what you wish they would do for you consistently when you're scared that the world is not a nice place. So we need to understand why you feel that the world is not a nice place, not a nice enough or safe enough place to do for others what you wish they would do for you. There's 2 reasons. One is that you think other people are like you. Now, you're like, no, that's not what it is. It's that other people aren't like me. Because I'm the kind of person who does nice things for everybody, but other people aren't like me, and they won't do those nice things back. That's not how it works. If you're actually the nice person who does nice things for everybody, you see those sorts of people everywhere. Listen really carefully, this is just critical. Most of reality for you is just an interpretation of yourself projected out there. You see yourself everywhere. Let me give an example to help flesh out how this works. Have you ever tried to do something nice for somebody? Yes, you have. Sure, please tell me you have at some point, yes. So you've tried to do something nice for somebody, and it's gotten weird. No, thanks, no thanks. They don't want it, they don't want it, they don't want it. Like, well, that makes no sense. Like, clearly you need this, right? I have a bandage, you have a gaping wound. Let me put the bandage on your gaping wound. No. And you get to the bottom of it, and you're pushing on it, not the bandage and the wound, but you're pushing on the situation, and they'll say something like, no, I don't want to be in your debt, or I don't want it hanging over my head. Let me give you a few bucks for that. Like, weird. Because it would never occur to you that this would be a transaction, that somebody would be keeping score, that I did this for you, so you do this for me. They're worried about it hanging over their head. Why? Well, they see themselves everywhere. They assume you're like them, and they believe that you, like them, are the sort of person who will hang it over somebody's head. It's a very peculiar place to be in, to be generous for somebody, and they don't want it because you can't buy me that way. Like, it never occurred to me to buy you. Just wanted to do something nice. Generosity is like that. Think about forgiveness. The paranoia that comes when you have a conversation with somebody, you sorted it out. Now we're good. But then you're watching social media, and they posted something that's like totally cruel, totally mean, and it's like, I thought we sorted this out. But realistically, it's not about you at all. It's not about the situation at all, but it's the kind of thing you were tempted to do. And so you see it in their behavior. You're scared of the world around you, not because other people are scary. You're scared of the world around you because you're scary. And you think other people are like you. You think other people will take a corner for their advantage if they can, and so you got to protect yourself because they're just like you. They'll do that. Another example is confidentiality. Perhaps somebody comes and tells you something in confidence, and you're like, good, I won't tell anybody. Then they come back 2 months later, and they say, remember that thing I told you? It actually sorted out okay, so don't worry about it. And now feel free to go tell the other people you told that it's all gotten taken care of. You're like, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell a soul. And they're like, no, you don't have to pretend. You don't have to pretend. Of course you would have told people. Everybody tells people. No, not everybody does. You project who you are, and you would tell people on the world around you, and that gets really scary. So don't make the mistake that it's, oh, if only everyone was like me. No. Paul puts it this way. To the pure, in Titus 1:5, all things are pure. But to those who are corrupted and do not believe, nothing is pure. Because you see yourself everywhere. So if you're pure and giving and generous and you do for others what you want them to do for you, you're not scared because you project that everywhere. And you just assume most people are like that. If you aren't that kind of person, you assume most people are like you. That's one reason why you're scared. That's one reason why you think the world is scary, is because people are like you. Second reason why you're scared is that you think God isn't good. Now, we talk lots in this church about God as Father and God being good, and that's so important and so corrective, and if you haven't lived in that, then by all means embrace it. But for some of us, I think we've gone numb to it a little bit, so I want to take that phrase and say it differently. That God is a good Father, to say that is the same thing as saying the universe is a really safe place. Okay? You can't say God is a good Father and say, but the world and the cosmos and reality is terribly dangerous. No, the house is safe if dad is safe, right? So we're used to God as Father, but we have this trouble with reality as a dangerous place, and we got to watch out for ourselves. No. If you belt out good Father, but you're too scared to be nice to people, you haven't experienced God as good. Because if you experience God as good, you feel really safe. Everything is going to be taken care of by the Father who is in control of your life, every aspect of it, working everything together for good to those that love Him. That's the Father. That's what makes the universe a real safe place. The two places in the New Testament where Jesus talks about loving other people as you love yourself, or doing for them what you want done, it comes right after he talks about God. Because we have to get God right before we can get anything right. And if you're scared of God, or if you're scared of reality, you don't live in a reality where being kind makes sense. So you have to get God right first. Jesus knows that. Let's look at how he puts it together for people. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. These are two critics of Jesus, groups of people always trying to put him on the spot. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question: "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets hang on these two commandments." I would say the second commandment hangs on the first one as well. Don't lead with love your neighbor. You can't do it unless you first love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your strength, all your soul, all your strength, found him to be trustworthy and safe, obeyed his commands, lived a flourishing life, felt his power in you. Then you're poised to actually help somebody without being scared or without keeping score, where if I do something nice for them, then at least I have somebody who will do something nice for me. You got to get God right first. Jesus knows this. Same thing in Matthew 7. Lydia took us through it last week about God as a good Father. Let's read the passage that leads into the golden rule. God first, get God right first, then you're free to love people. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? None of you. If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? God is good. Reality is safe. Safe enough for you to be really good. Safe enough for you to love people. Safe enough that even if they're not the kind of person who will love you back, that's okay. You can still love them because God's good enough to fill in that void. You get God right first. You feel tremendously safe first. Next verse. So in everything. So it's not just Jesus with one-off lines. He's connecting this to the part about God beforehand. So because God is like this, so because he's a good Father who won't give you stones when you ask for bread or poison when you ask for a fish, because the universe is safe because you're the children of a good God who's all-powerful, now in everything, you are the kind of people who can do to others what you would have them do to you. And this is what reality is all about. This sums up everything else. So when you catch yourself compromising somewhere, cutting a corner, not loving somebody like they should, it's not about them being nice or you being nice or are they going to pay you back. If you're hesitant to follow the golden rule, it's not a you and them problem. You don't understand God. You're scared that the universe is not a nice enough place to be kind. But God's plan is to create a group of people who know that that's a lie, of people who are safe enough that they can love other people and that they can turn the world upside down. You do not have to be scared. Jesus puts it this way when he looks at people. He says, you don't have to be scared, little flock. It's God's good pleasure to make you safe. I'll invite you to stand. We're going to have a bunch of things going on here in a few minutes. I'll turn it back over to Rylan and Sonia and Nipwa. Thanks for joining us. We get to lean into the song about fear and hope. The prayer team will be here to help you pray through some fear. And if you have kids in kids' church, you need to go get them and bring them back, because there is actually a rather impressive buffet of food coming here, and you are all welcome to stick around and enjoy that. So go get your kids, bring them back, and the rest of us, let's sing about our fear not standing a chance